We have Rick McAllister of the Georgia Retail Association and the Alliance for Main Street Fairness. Praised Governor Nathan Deal recently on comments he made to the Georgia Press Association. The governor said Georgia shouldn't wait for Congress to act while Main Street businesses lose jobs. Rick, welcome to the program. You applaud the governor's comments as well.
Well, thanks, Bill and Joel. Yes, I do. I really think the governor was right on target when he talked about fairness. He joins the Speaker of the House and senators all across Georgia who have come to us and said it's time to stop this, to level the playing field, to not make Georgia's Main Street merchants suffer from this. So, yes, indeed, we applaud them, and we hope there'll be action in this session coming up.
And what sort of action would that look like as far as the bill is concerned? Have you seen any of the legislation or been privy to any of those discussions?
Bill has not been dropped yet in either house. There have been a lot of conversations going on about how to shape it, so I can't give you much information about that right now. But the idea is simply to make it fair. Georgia retailers, all of big ones, small ones, tens of thousands of them, have to compete with these remote sellers outside the state of Georgia who have a 6+% advantage of them. And in these kind of times, that just won't work. Businesses can't survive. So we hope that there will be a bill that comes out that approaches leveling that playing field and makes it fair for all.
And the contention there, as you just mentioned, to go a little deeper into that online-only retailers exploit a tax loophole that predates the Internet. Somebody say, well, they can't do it because it's on the Internet, but actually there's some rules there that they're taking advantage of or exploiting, as said here, and they avoid collecting and remitting sales tax in Georgia. And I know from growing up in a family business, that whole sales tax issue, even in the day, that's time consuming. It costs a business to go through and do that. So not only does the state lose some of that money, but it's for a business, it's time consuming and costly too, isn't it?
It is indeed. And, guys, nobody wants to pay sales tax. We get that. We understand it. But for our system to work, it has to be fair. And so that's all that your local retailers are asking. Let's make a system fair. We can compete with anybody in the world as long as government doesn't pick winners and losers. And that's exactly what has been happening for over a decade now. And it's just gotten worse and worse and worse. I don't know if you saw the numbers this holiday shopping season, but online remote sellers business was up 35%. I mean, it just keeps growing by leaps and bounds. Let's face it, all of us like to shop in our pajamas. But what happens is that even the Georgia companies who are online only, they have to collect the tax. But if they go across the state of Alabama or Florida or wherever and sell into our state, they don't. That's just not fair.
And you're talking about some $140 million in lost revenue to the state, approximately, as far as that's concerned, as I understand.
Well, it's actually more than that. I think there are a lot of different numbers out there. But if you look at what some of the studies have been, if you could fix the entire problem all at once, it would be more money than that. But in our mind, this is not about revenue. This is about fairness. And the legislators and the governor will decide what to do. There has been some talk, if we're going to collect this due tax that we haven't been collecting for over a decade or longer, then let's somehow figure out how to give that money back. And so there's a lot of talk about offsetting whatever revenue comes in with a tax break back so that we level the playing field, but we also don't take more money out of the citizen's pocket. I think that's a good idea.
Rick McAllister, the Georgia Retail Association, on the Bill and Joel Morning Show on WDUN. Rick, there is one big giant company out there online that's actually trying to do the right thing, Amazon.com. Tell us about them.
Well, Amazon is a great company. There's no question about that, and they lead the online business and have for a number of years. But they need to start collecting the tax in Georgia. They're talking a good game about what they'd like to do in Congress.
So they're not doing it in Georgia?
They're not doing it in Georgia. They've never done it in Georgia, and we have asked them to do so. We would like to welcome Amazon into Georgia to build fulfillment centers, to hire people, to do all the things that a company that aggressive can do, but we want them to do it on a fair playing field, and they're not yet. And so one of the objectives, I think, for this session is to get the leader of the Internet's remote selling business online.
Well, are there other states, by the way, that are going to requiring what you would like Georgia to require, or require businesses outside the state to adhere to? And if so, how is that working?
There are indeed a number of states who have already passed legislation to do what we hope the Georgia legislature will do this year. Large states from California to New York to Texas to Illinois to North Carolina. They're just I don't know, can't remember the exact number, but I think it's around 20-something states who have already done this. And it's just time for us to do something that will defend our Main Street retailers. You know, the mom and pops and the small retailers who have worked so very hard. I was in one the other day, a 100-year-old clothing store in Tifton, Georgia, and they're just struggling with these online guys who aren't collecting taxes. People come into their store, they pick up the name brand, and they go buy it online. Mm-hmm. That's just not fair.
Yeah, I understand, as you mentioned earlier on, that the Georgia legislature has been waiting on the feds to do something. But if you ever wait on the federal government to do something, you'll never see it done. But that, by the way, is an opinion. But why have the feds not gone ahead and addressed this, do you think? Because I know they've approached it on several occasions.
Yeah. You know, the problem, I think, has been that people have been very successful at couching this argument as taxing the Internet when that's the farthest thing from what it is. What this is collecting an already levied tax. Every state in the nation has a use tax, and that means anything that you buy outside the state, like an automobile, for example, when you bring it back into that state, you have to pay use tax on it. And so that's all this is about. But in Congress, they've been successful saying, don't tax the Internet. It's a new medium. It's great. It's the future of retailing. And by the way, it really is. The Internet is one of the most dynamic parts of the retail marketplace that we have, and we're excited about it. But it can't be done with a flaw like this. It's got to be fair for all competitors.
Rick, where do people find out more about your organization?
They can go on our website at www.georgiaretail.org. There's a lot about this issue on there, and we'd love to talk to them about it.
Love retail. I mean, it's just a great career, a great business. It's a great service. I am not the big online shopper. I prefer to go to the brick and mortar, meet people, see the product, try it on, look at it, those kind of things. So, I guess my tax dollars are on those sales tax are going where they're supposed to go, because very, very few things do I buy online. But, I agree with you. Online is a great tool for all retailers, but it ought to be a level playing field. We thank you for what you're doing. Have a nice day there in Tallahassee and a good trip back to Atlanta. And thanks for being with us here on the Bill and Joel Morning Show.
Thanks so much for having me.